93 Boxing. I'm back with another video. I've been out for a long time, and I've been busy. What can I say? Been really busy. Boxing's been great so far. We had great fights in 2017. 2017 was a really good year. Canelo rematch gonna happen. We got this Chris Eubank versus George Groves fight, which is what I'm trying to put keys to victory and predict it. Now, obviously it's a Danny Garcia Rios fight, and I think I'm gonna make a video for that. But yeah, let's talk about this fight. Chris Eubank Jr. and George Groves, or George Groves and Chris Eubank Jr. This fight is one of the best fights of this year so far. Definitely. It's a fight that I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's a fight where it can go either way. It's a really, really difficult fight to call initially, like going into the fight. It's going to happen today. I'm super excited. They both have things in their style that can cause people problems. George Groves, for example, right, is a person who is good in the long ranges. I mean, he can throw shots in the long range. The way he stands, he throws it in a... it's like he's priming himself to throw shots that are in the long range, hard shots as well. And quick as well. He does not get enough credit for his speed. There's different attributes to speed. You know, a difference between Floyd Mayweather and a Manny Pacquiao speed is Manny Pacquiao, he throws a bunch of punches like... You know, if you give him 3 seconds, he's probably thrown a huge amount of punches, more than Floyd does in 3 seconds. But that first shot that Floyd lets off is quicker than Pacquiao's first shot that Pacquiao lets off. Kind of like George Groves and Chris Eubank Jr. in that way. I feel like the first shot that Groves lets off is a bit quicker than Eubank. I really do. Groves is a harder puncher. He throws shots in the long range. He can move pretty well. He's got great boxing ability. And that can cause Eubank problems. Because I feel like Eubank is a person who... He's not amazing in the long range. He's not. That's the honest truth about him. He's very good in the mid-range and close range. You know, he throws those uppercuts. He throws those body shots. He has a high work rate. And Groves might not want to be with him on the inside. He needs to be in the long range. You know, he has a really good jab as well. I don't think Eubank has fought anyone, or at least beat anyone, that is as good in long range as Groves is. He did fight Billy Joe Saunders, and I do think in a way that Eubank is a way better fighter than he was when he fought Saunders. But again, he doesn't really do well against people that control distance very well. Billy Joe Saunders is a very good fighter when it comes to the distance. So that gives George Groves an advantage in that sense. George Groves is the biggest puncher that Eubank's going to face. Very good timing. Eubank is a very is a guy with high work rate, and he loves to let go of his combinations. He can be slick with the combinations. He loves to let go. But George Groves is a good counter puncher with a lot of power. He doesn't waste most of his punches, and I think he can catch Eubank with a big right hand. The problem, the only question with that would be, can Eubank take Groves' punch? That would be a great question. And you know, Eubank is not big. George Groves is a lot bigger, biggest fighter that Eubank will face. So, you know, on that sense, yeah. And you know, also in the pads, I've not seen Eubank throw that many short punches. So long punches, I've not seen him. His whole stance is kind of like a mid-range, close-range fighting stance. He doesn't extend his arms all the way fully. I've not seen him do that. He's not really a long-range fighter from what it seems like. But at the same time, here's the thing, right? Chris Eubank is, even though he doesn't hit as hard as Groves, he's got enough power. And if you're not careful, because he'll be throwing crazy combinations, and he does not get tired. If you're not careful, he can catch you. I don't think he's got crazy power, and George Groves is bigger than him. I mean, he's been knocked out, George Groves is, but it's against huge punches. Can Eubank hurt him? I think he can hurt him. Shots that you don't see coming can hurt you. And Eubank is pretty fast, as Groves is, in different ways. Eubank on close range will be not good for Groves. And Groves, a lot of times, does leave his chin up in there. That's one thing about him. He's got this, forward head carry. Like, his kind of head and neck kind of goes all forward and shit. And that can leave his chin up in the air for a Eubank uppercut. Eubank also has tremendous conditioning and stamina. The guy just never gets tired almost. Like, the guy throws crazy combinations in late rounds even. Non-stop. And George Groves does get tired, and he gets sloppy when he gets tired. Very sloppy. Okay? It's a hard fight to call. For this reason, George Groves does get sloppy. He does get tired in the late rounds. He gets a bit sloppy. And Eubank is a very bad person to get tired against because, I mean, yeah, George Groves has good footwork. He has good speed. He has good all that. But that's going to get, worn away as the rounds go on. Not so much with Eubank. His speed and all that is going to stay longer. And as I said, Eubank is a shorter range fighter, mid-range fighter. Not as good of a fighter in the long range as George Groves is, in my opinion. But as the rounds progress, there is the possibility that Groves is not able to maintain his distance and Eubank is cutting the ring off. Remember, this is probably the biggest fight of Eubank's career. We're probably going to see the best of Eubank. Eubank doesn't really get tired that much. He could go to the body early on. Right? And he could let off shots to the body that can slow down Groves. And Eubank's a savage when it comes to letting off combinations. Just imagine this, right? If Groves is tired and he's not able to get away from Eubank, Eubank's able to cut the distance on him. When he gets a bit sloppy, he drops his hand and everything. That's a bad sight. If Eubank's on close range and Groves is doing that, that's a bad sight for Groves. That's not good. And that will be a dangerous scenario for Groves because Eubank is dangerous at that. He can let off body shots and all kinds of stuff. So, I'm painting both realistic scenarios initially of where the fight can go. These both scenarios are realistic. Groves can catch him. If Groves wins, by stoppage, it'll be mid to early. More likely early because, that's when Groves is fresher. But the stamina, I do think, will play a part. And I do think Eubank, I do think there's a chance it will play a part. Eubank has great stamina. He doesn't have to drain himself to make weight. Unlike Groves. And we've seen that in the weigh-in. Groves looked like he was pressured. He looked like he was drained, In a way, I really don't know who's going to win. I'm just looking at the scenarios. And the scenarios that I painted are pretty realistic. Either way it could go, right? One thing I like to point out is, as I said, Groves is drained. He looks drained. That might not mean that he's drained in the fight, but damn. It's something to look into. Yeah, it's definitely something to look into. So as I'm looking at all this and I'm thinking to myself, can this affect Groves? We remember Groves has been down, he's been hurt before. But look, I don't think it will affect Groves too much. But Eubank looks fresh. And one thing I definitely want to point out is confidence. Definite confidence. Sometimes George Groves do come across as someone who's a bit pressured, a bit, should I say, lack of confidence initially. That's how I felt like, there was a bit of lack of confidence Groves had. I don't know, man. Like, initially, remember when Chris Eubank beat that Turkish guy or whoever, and then went up to George Groves and said, "This is on," or something. Actually, no. When Chris Eubank beat, I don't know who he beat, but then there was a ringside interview with Eubank and Groves. Groves looked unsure, but that could be just how he speaks. It's something maybe that's just how he is, but he not might not be he might not have lack of confidence, but it might seem like that way. Um, I really don't know, but all I can say is Chris Eubank is supremely confident, supremely. The guy exudes in confidence, and if you think about it, right, George Groves might be on his mind. He might actually, sometimes he does come across as a veteran who feels like, you know what, Eubank ain't got shit on me. But at the same time, sometimes it might feel like that he's telling himself that because he feels like that, the Froch fight was one of the biggest fight of his time, of his career. And it's, the opportunity of winning slipped both times with Froch and Groves, whether you agree with the decision or not in the first fight. So I'm fairly sure he's telling himself this to kind of convince himself so he's like primed up for that fight. Just something in the George Groves camp just looks a bit negative and dark and gloomy. And I think Eubank talked about this. These people rarely be smiling. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I don't know. To me, sometimes it might seem like that something's going on that's wrong or bad in their camp. I don't know. I really don't know. Um, it's a really hard one to call, man. It's a really hard one to call. Groves does have the experience. He does have the experience. Eubank doesn't. Stylistically, this is a better fight for Groves. I do think so, unless Groves get tired, which is a high possibility compared to Eubank. I mean, Eubank will be there. The questions are in this fight are this. Um, can Eubank take Groves' shots? How would he react to that? Okay. And also, just can Groves win? Basically, can he win? Can he not get tired? What if Eubank is able to take this shot? What if Eubank is moving forward? Can Groves just can he keep Eubank off him? That will be one of my questions in the late rounds. Will he get tired? Will Groves get tired? That is a question. That is a definite question. There's less questions with Groves because he's been up in there in the top against top fighters, and no matter what questions you have, when you put up someone against top fighters, they all get answered. I really don't know, man. Like, confidence-wise, Eubank seems to be more confident fighter. I don't know. I really don't know, man. This is a really good fight. A lot of people from both sides are kind of underestimating both fighters. Just, I really don't know. I don't think Eubank can just pull it off like that. Groves is a really good fighter, a really good counterpuncher. People don't realize that. He's a really good counterpuncher. Him against, was it Josh Taylor? Or, no, Jamie Foxx. Sorry. Jamie Foxx. It was not, it was a competitive fight till the knockout shot, but it was not as competitive as people thought. And Jamie, people saying, oh, Jamie Foxx is a blown up welterweight or whatever, but the thing is, Jamie Foxx had more skills than Chris Eubank's last opponent. Chris Eubank's last opponent might be bigger, stronger, tougher, but man, his game plan and everything was off. He was sloppy. He was shit. No disrespect to him. He wasn't that good. And it's really hard for me to call this fight. Really, really hard for me. I just kind of, I've been going back and forth with this so many times, and I was leaning slightly towards Eubank. Now I'm kind of, as I speak and I listen to myself speak, stylistically, Groves does have the advantage, and it's like, damn, the guy's not a big middleweight. He really isn't. And George Groves the guy's he's a middleweight. Chris Eubank is a middleweight. And Groves is a big super middleweight. A very big super middleweight. And, you just think that Groves might just hit too hard. But at the same time, Eubank seems to have a pretty good chin. And this is another thing I just thought of it now. He sparred Carl Froch, right? Carl Froch is a pretty big puncher. He's got power. And in sparring, surely you would, even though it's sparring, you kind of would get an idea of whether you can take, whether you got a good chin or not. I mean, I just feel like that confidence must come from somewhere. That confidence must come from somewhere. You know, all this aside, right, I do think it's a 50-50 fight. I really think it's a 50-50 fight. I just think there's something about Eubank's confidence that makes me want to lean towards him. And that's all I'm going to say. It can go either way, right? Going into the fight, it might not be competitive. We don't know. These are the questions that have to be answered, right? I think Groves will have a lot of good work early. Okay, he could. This is a scenario. He could have loads of good work early. It can sort of turn into Eubank's favor if I'm leaning towards Groves in the way. Oh, fuck, I'm now switching back to Groves. What if Eubank is not able to catch him? If you look at Billy Joe Saunders, right? And Eubank is a better fighter than he fought Saunders before. But Groves can pull the same thing off. And I don't see what Eubank can do, right? Not saying that he can't do anything extra more than what I've seen him do already. But it's kind of hard for me to imagine him doing some crazy stuff to cut the ring off crazy and all that. And I think Groves got enough power to keep him off. Eubank has not really faced competition that are like crazy and beat them. The only guys he beat that was impressive were tough guys, not necessarily guys with loads of skills. So for that reason, I think I will lean towards Groves. Eubank can turn it up in the late rounds, and early on he has to go to the body against Groves. He has to use a little bit of movement, right? He has to give him angles. He has to be aware that George Groves will try counterpunch him. He'll be trying looking for the big shot. He has to make George Groves a little bit frustrated. And Chris Eubank has to kind of be a bit cautious on the outside, but then go ham on the inside. And you know, George Groves, I feel like Eubank has this supreme sense of confidence. He has to impose that confidence. He has to impose it early on. I think the fight early on, whoever gets the better of each other kind of will dictate everything. I'm just slightly leaning towards Groves in a way because of the experience and the size. And it's a good stylistic matchup. Do I think Groves can stop him with one shot? I don't think so. Can he drop him? Potentially. Eubank will be able to get back up from that. And can he hurt him? I think he can. Potentially. Will he? We need to see that. And can Eubank hurt him? Potentially, especially in the late rounds. And I think advantage early Groves, advantage late Eubank. Kind of leaning towards Groves. But if this goes late, it could be a Eubank stoppage or a Eubank decision. Let's see. 93 Boxing. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Comment down below. I'm out.